بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. My dear brothers and sisters and colleagues, thank you for coming and thank you for showing concern about the pains of the Ummah on this stage. And the brothers have decided to let me speak first, maybe to get us warmed up. You're looking at three causes that are probably one of they are the most painful causes of the Muslim Ummah. We're talking about Palestine, which is near and dear to all Muslims around the world, and we're gonna hear from our brothers on that. And also we're gonna hear almost about the forgotten case of Kashmir. And this is Dr. Ghulam is gonna tell us about. But also let me tell you, when was the last time you have heard about Syria on TV or in the news? Chances are you have not heard about Syria more than likely since 2018 or 2017 on TV. Last year it may have popped up because we had a major earthquake in southern Turkey and northern Syria, and you've heard maybe a few clips here and there. So the title of this, as I understand it, is The Unfinished Business of Arab Spring. Is that correct?
Yes.
When they talk about Arab Springs, so I'm gonna see if I can tie this into the cause of Syria as an example. In my opinion, when we talk about Arab Springs, they should have made it the Ummah Spring. Because when we look at the pains and sufferings of the Ummah, we will find great similarities. What we will find when we talk about Arab Springs, they make it sound as if there are a bunch of thugs that took down the street and decided to cause problems. Or they make it sound like there's some sort of conspiracy or organizations that were behind all of these demonstrations and what have you. Or they make it sound like there's a conspiracy, the United States has been behind it, the CIA has been behind it, and all sorts of stories you hear. What they don't tell us when they speak about the Arab Springs, that these movements, whether they happened in Egypt, whether they happened in Libya, Tunis, Syria, Iraq, and other places, what they don't tell you that these things have been organic. These things, they did not follow any particular ideology. These things represent people, and I'm talking about Arab Springs, people that were looking for their freedom, for dignity, for justice. All the things that we live and enjoy here in the United States, and we expect to wake up every morning, expected that our day will be dignified, and no one will interfere with our freedom. And when we get out of the house, we will feel that no secret police will come and slap us in the face to ask us where we're going. We come and go as we wish. So I want you to create this type of similarities of why the Arab Springs took place to begin with. Basic necessities of life were basically prevented from the reach of these people. They were deprived of these basic necessities. Unless you understand it in this light, you will fall into the trap of this whole Arab Springs is something that is useless. All these guys just basically took the street and they have destroyed countries. We used to go to these countries and take our summer vacations, and now we can't do that anymore. This is a dangerous one, by the way. We have to be careful when we repeat these things, because what you are saying, my summer vacation is a lot more valuable than the freedom and lives of many. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Syria. So that's the Arab Springs. I'm sure if you put what I'm about to say in the context of Yemen, you're going to see great similarities. If you put it in the context of Palestine, you're going to see great similarities. If you put it in the context of Libya and Tunisia and other places, you're going to see a lot of similarities. And that is peaceful people looking for their God-given rights have taken on the streets peacefully, and they were faced with guns and tanks. Period. When they talk about violence, when they talk about resistance taking arms, and when they talk, yes, that took place, of course. But what do you expect? Are they all ISIS? Well, heck no. Only crazies generalize. Right? Is there ISIS in the world? Of course it is. There are crazies everywhere. But what they want to tell you, that these people who took the streets and they started to fight back and they started to ask for the rights, they are black, so to speak, black in terms of color. Black meaning they carry that black flag, right? They're ISIS. In the Middle East, when you say something black, that means you're talking about Al-Qaeda, we're talking about ISIS. Just to give you that context.
Okay.
So, are all of those who took the streets ISIS, Al-Qaeda? Of course not. They are freedom-loving people, just like you and me. There's no difference. They want to wake up just like you and me. We don't want to be slapped in the face. They want to wake up and go about their business and come back and not fear of being abducted, arrested, tortured, taken to places and no one can fight you for years. And if you come back, you'll come back a different person, either mentally or physically. Talking about Syria, in 2011, since 2011, half of the population have been displaced. Syrian people took the streets in 2011 peacefully for about a year and a half, almost 2 years. And they were faced by the Assad regime with guns and tanks. And the Assad regime was almost going to fall. And guess what? Iran and Russia came to his aid. And he remains in power. He remained in power not because the Arab Spring failed. I must tell you that the Arab Spring, in terms of a movement, in terms of paradigm shift, have succeeded. Have expressed clearly, without any type of ideology, without any type of relationship to organizations or to any school of thoughts, right or left, that people are looking for their basic rights and they're not looking for the elites to speak on their behalf. And governments don't like that. Assad is one of them. He could not stop the people, though he saw the aids of Russia and Iran, and they came to his aid, and they furthermore continued with the slaughtering of the Syrian people. Half of the population is displaced. 7 million of those are displaced internally, and about 6 million have become refugees in other countries. 90% of the Syrian people live below the poverty line. Who would have thought? 2.5 million school-aged children, they don't go to school. 1 million of them live in northwest Syria. In northwest Syria alone, where 4.5 million Syrians live, at that small corner in northwest, there are 4.5 million people who live there. 2 million of them continue to live in makeshift camps.
Exactly. Why is that? I mean, why? I have a question because I'm from Bangladesh and I've been, come out of war-torn country, so I can connect some of that with you.
I'm sorry. So the Q&A will be at the end.
Oh, okay.
But I will answer that, inshallah. The question is why, and we're going to get to that because that takes us into a path. How many times I answer? I want to make sure because when you speak first, you are please.
Chef, about 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Okay, good.
What?
Just check. All right. So I share with you some statistics. Let me tell you some things. Let me tell you why the Arab Spring is important. And let me tell you why I personally believe, while many think that the Arab Spring came and gone, and I believe we're about to witness Arab Spring version 2 for a simple reason. Because, and I don't wish for it, by the way, but if you look at it objectively, the reasons upon which the Arab Spring was started, if those were size X, so to speak, or their level of influence to move people as X, now the situation on the ground, at least in Syria, and I'm sure in Yemen is the same, at least these are two areas I'm familiar with, it is maybe 100 times worse than it was before. So logically, regardless of the effort of Russia and Iran or other countries who have put efforts, money, and armies to quell all of the people movements, and regardless of the indifference that the United States showed toward Arab Springs, but the situation there is a lot worse than what it was 10 years ago. So logically, the Arab Spring started, it didn't end. It didn't succeed, maybe fully in toppling and changing these governments, but the level of maturity that have been achieved and realized by the people of these countries have significantly increased. But you say, well, the price is too high. Of course it is high. I am not sure if the price yet is correct. So when Barack Obama, back when the Bashar al-Assad bombed his own people with chemical weapons, and Barack Obama mentioned his famous red line, right? He said, this is it, we cannot tolerate. Well, what he did, he tolerated that, and he tolerated many things after that. And Bashar al-Assad got away with killing over 1 million people. And hundreds of thousands are in jails, and others are missing. That's being indifference. But what does that do to the people? Basically, that just makes the people tolerate more pain. They will remember, and they will reach the same point of explosion that they have reached on March of 2011. So the Arab Spring is there. What we do at the Syrian Forum, I'll do that. How many minutes do I have?
About 6 minutes.
6 minutes, alhamdulillah. What I'm about to say at the Syrian Forum, you say, well, we need this everywhere. We focus on 5 things. When I talk about half of the population is displaced, when I talk about 90% of the population is living below the poverty line, doing the humanitarian and development project continues to be a necessity, right? There is no escape from that. That we do, alhamdulillah. But also working on education is extremely important. My dear brothers and sisters, while painful to go to the markets of the cities of Azaz or Jarabas or Afrin or Sawqin or Haram in Northwest and see children that were born after 2011 and they lived in camps only. And then when you find that these young men or these young girls, they don't know how to read and write, working in education is extremely important, even under tough circumstances. Because if we wait on educating these children, then we're going to have a much bigger problem than what we are having today. Economic empowerment is extremely important from the statistics. If I tell you today what is the chief reason that those children, the 2.5 million school-aged children, they don't go to school, what do you think the chief reason is? Quickly, you're consuming my 6 minutes.
There's no schools that pays cash.
That's some of it, but that's not the chief. They don't go to school because their parents, they prefer that they go to work. They go out there and they collect plastics and they, go to mechanic shops and they do all sorts of things to collect, to make 30, 50 liras a day. So that's why. For the girls, it's early marriages. So these are the 2 chief reasons why kids don't go to school. So economic empowerment is important to make sure that these families also have jobs. Alhamdulillah, in the Syrian Forum, we have placed over 41,000 people in jobs. We have given over 5,000 small grants to people. About 65% our recipient are alhamdulillah women. Working on public policy is important, right, in general, and advocating the cause. We advocate for Syria, in the US, in Europe, in the UN, and in Turkey, obviously, because Turkey is the host of over 3.5 million Syrian refugees, and also in the region as well. So if you take these 5 things and think for a second, and I don't mean to put them to basically promote the organizations, absolutely not. The idea is you say, if you think about Palestine, you need the same thing in Palestine. If you think of Yemen, you say, this is what we should do in Yemen. This is what we should do in Kashmir. This is what we should do in all the Muslim world. We've got to work in education and economic empowerment, and we've got to advocate for our causes. Let me say, I want to say something purposely. I want to get you a little bit angry. We raise a lot of grants. We solicit a lot of international grants, alhamdulillah. Also, we collect donations from individuals. When it comes to education, and when it comes to secondary, like middle and high school, right? The preparatory and secondary, if you will. Guess what we are told? That education is unnecessary. Doesn't that imagine, can you imagine your children? How many of you have children? Grandchildren? No, I have 8 grandchildren. Alhamdulillah. Can you imagine any one of them does not finish high school? Unheard of, right? Can you imagine the same people who created a system that said minimum education is high school, they tell us that middle and high school is unnecessary. And therefore, my brothers and sisters, the Arab Spring continues. Jazakumullah khairan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all. And thank you very much. And I'm sorry if I took more time.
Being a Muslim, there is a little bit of tax we have to pay, unlike all of those who live in the United States, right? We have, once and for all, each one of us, right, we're part of this melting pot, right? So either we came from India, Pakistan, Kashmir, Syria, Palestine, Iraq, Iran, Libya, Tunis, Saudi, Kuwait, the whole Muslim Ummah, right? We can no longer be silent about causes.
I can say.
As an American, as a Muslim American, you get up and put your head up high and be proud of who you are and where we came from and who our fathers and mothers came from. And as Americans, just because you live in the United States, just because you were born in the United States, it is your God-given rights to advocate for the causes of the Ummah. You cannot just simply say, I'm going to advocate only for the city of Richardson, Texas, or for city of Murphy. This is normal. This is just like saying, well, I have to feed my family. You have to be active in your local city, you have to be active in your local council, and you have to be active in all of these things that you're supposed to do as Americans. But as Americans, and as Muslim Americans, you've got to adopt a cause of where you are from originally. Right? I've got 4 sons, and they're born in the United States, I've got 8 grandchildren. But trust me, half of them are Americans, and half of them are Syrians. And I expect them to advocate for the Syrian cause as much as they should advocate for their local community causes. Guys, this is not a charity. This is not like, please remember Kashmir, please remember Syria, please remember Palestine. Allah is my witness. It is my belief that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will ask us all. And will ask us, and وَقِفُوهُمْ إِنَّهُمْ مَسْئُولُونَ. Let them pause because they are accountable. This is in the Quran. And He's going to ask us, well, you were living in Virginia, you were living in Los Angeles, San Francisco, Dallas, Indianapolis, Missouri, Kansas, all these cities. And you had all of these nice things, and you were comfortable. And you were. He's going to list all the comforts and all the blessings that He has given you. And He's going to ask you, by the way, your mom is from Kashmir, what have you done? Your father is from Palestine, what have you done for that cause? Do you get to listen to what's happening in Gaza in the last 3, 4, 6, 7, 8 months? What have you done? They need to listen about Syria. Assad came and spoke to you about the Syria, and there are half of the people displaced around you. What have you done? Don't ever, when I speak to Syrian youth, I tell them, don't unplug.
Yeah.
Don't unplug. If you think you have the luxury to unplug, this is not me. I'm 7,000 miles away. Others can say that. You as Muslims, you don't have the luxury. You have to remain plugged. And you've got to figure out, let me tell you something. Those over there, I'll speak about Syrian people, especially with what we're going through right now. Wallahi, they live their daily lives and their eyes after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is on us, American Muslims.
Please.
Hope. They think that we are the hope for them. They think we will deliver. They think we are the one who's going to be deliver them to safety. We cannot anymore ignore all of the blessings that we have as Muslim Americans and not